Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Puff Drink Talk podcast. I'm Hilton.
I'm George.
Y yo, Eugenio. I also go by Gene.
And we have our special guest here tonight, Gene Chavez. So we're going to be talking about some of the great stories that Gene has to put it up in here for us. And it's just amazing. I've known Gene for a little while now. And yeah, we're going to have some fun. Yeah.
Cool. And George, you're left-handed.
I am.
Were you born in June?
I was.
More lefties are born in June any other month.
Look
An
at
amazing
that.
statistic.
Look at that. You see how it starts?
Love that. Yeah. Experience teachers of those things, man.
Oh, yeah.
If you listen, if you pay attention, there are many things out there.
My wife gave me a coffee mug, and it was all about left-handed expressions, famous left-handers, quotes from the Bible that are about left-handers, and at the very bottom it said, "More lefties are born in June than in any other month." Now, I'm June 3rd, so I'm a lefty born in June. And she only gave me that because I don't drink coffee, because of that expression. And I always ask people, and if a man wears his watch over here,
Mm-hmm.
80% of the time he's left-handed. Not applies to women, but if he wears his watch over here, he's left-handed. And it's amazing when you say you're left-handed, right? And they go, "How did you know that?" And then if I ask the June question and they hit and it hits, it blows their mind.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's interesting.
Mhm.
And tell us a little bit about you, Gene. Give us a little introduction on you, if you wouldn't mind.
So I'm from San Antonio. I'm a full Latino, as they say. My mother was she was a Flores, born in San Antonio, and her mother was a Mazatán, born in Mexico, from Saltillo, Mexico. And so my father's a Chavez, and his mother was a Renteria. So yo soy 100% Hispano. Although, I really didn't look, I don't look very Latino, I don't think. Not like Charles. Charles looks
Mm-hmm.
very Latino, and he doesn't speak Spanish.
Yeah.
And so, but I didn't learn Spanish till late in life. My parents, although it was they were all spoke Spanish all the time.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't want my sister and I to speak Spanish because, like, I'm 78, so back when we were kids, it wasn't good to speak Spanish. So we were not asked to speak Spanish, but we heard Spanish. I learned my Spanish late in life. So I say my Spanish, there's a term in a slang called puro pedo. And that's my Spanish is puro pedo. But I sound good, and I have a good accent, but my vocabulary is corta, and my grammar's terrible.
Mm-hmm.
So when people ask me, "Chavez, are you bilingual?" I say, "Mire, si tú eres bilingüe, yo no soy bilingüe. Pero si tú no hablas español, yo soy bilingüe." Which it means if you're bilingual, I'm not bilingual. But if you don't speak Spanish, then I'm bilingual.
Yes. It all depends where you're looking in the spectrum. Like when you look at a spectrum, right, and you have like native speakers, okay, are you comparing to the most articulate native speaker or are you comparing to 99% of anyone who's, English, Spanish is not the second language? So it all depends on where you are in the spectrum, where you're looking at that.
Like I can have a conversation with people and be okay, but like to be interviewed in Spanish, I can't. My daughter, like she and her partner, spent almost a year in El Salvador, in Soyapango, to do mission work. But the main goal was to learn Spanish good so she could sing in Spanish and talk in Spanish and be interviewed in Spanish. And she's up, she was up for a Latin Grammy nominee several years ago. So, and to be up for a Latin Grammy, your whole album has to be in Spanish. And as a plug for my daughter, GinaChavez.com, by the way.
Shut up.
Of the Latin nominees ever, there's only 3 from America.
Mm-hmm.
Only 3, and she's one of them.
That's
wow.
awesome.
So
she can sing, man. I was watching the video today because I went to vote, right, for her.
Mhm.
I voted yesterday or this morning. No, I voted this morning on my cell, and then I voted on a computer
Mhm.
when I got here. And I was like, hey, let me watch the video. And I was like, really good. Yeah, she's good.
yeah, she's so my She was in the choir at McCallum. Both my kids went to McCallum. My kids are native Austinites, so they are what they call unicorns. So I'm from San Antonio, and my wife Gail is from Dallas or Richardson, and so so she was in the choir, and my wife is doing volunteer work for the big presentation at McCallum. It's called Cabaret. She's on the ladder hanging banners, and she hears this woman doing a solo, and she goes, "Who the hell is that?" So she climbs down the ladder and walks into the room. And it's Gina. And she goes, "Oh, you have that kind of voice, you know?" So when she was learning, she was like doing, when she was playing gigs in Austin. You know, she doesn't play in Austin anymore because there's no money in Austin compared to what she commands. So her favorite place was a place called Momo's. It was upstairs above Katz's, which is, they're no longer there, but it was a great bar. It had these big open windows. And if you go down 6th Street towards the good part, there was Hut's Hamburgers, and it's right in that area. It's no longer Hut's, but everybody in Austin knows Hut's Hamburgers. And so people would actually walk up the stairs. You'd have to walk up 2 flights of stairs and just to put their heads in the window and say, put their heads inside Momo's and say, I had to see the face behind that voice. But she's got that kind of voice. It's like when she sings, the first time you hear her, you're going to turn your head and go, "Who is that?" She's got that kind of voice. It's not an Aretha Franklin type voice, but it's a very distinctive voice.
No, it's good. It's really good. I'm telling you. I was blown. You know, it's like, wow, very good. Yeah. I'll send you a link.
I put it here.
No, you already said.
All right.
Yeah.
But I saw her name on Spotify, so I'll save it for later.
So, if you know what a tiny desk concert is, like it's NPR. And they ask people to do a tiny desk concert. So it's an honor. And so if you're in music, like people that say, "Oh, she's got a tiny desk," I'm going to go listen to her because that's a big deal. And if you don't, Hilton, you probably have Gina's card, right?
I have. You gave me one.
That's Gina's card. So I guess I'd like to, one of my conversion points, turning points in life is being a conservative male, coming to grips with having a gay daughter. It was tough for me. It was really tough. So, so Gina, comes out to my wife and I, and so I said, well, you got to go get fixed. You got to go get fixed. And so, and she's very religious, and she met her partner. And like we're Catholics, she met her partner at the University Catholic Center. So they met there in church, and one of the verses in her song is, "And I kissed a girl and I liked it." Okay. And so she had boyfriends, she had boyfriends, with a, when you're a musician, and you're a female singer, you have boyfriends and who play the guitar and who help you play. And her first boyfriend helped her with her first album. He was an amazing guy named Raul. And he played, he was a tailor guy. And he taught her how to play the guitar, and he did all the mandolin, and she sang. And so, it was a shock to me, And so I'm going back to my youth in San Antonio. I'll go back a little bit further. So I did Pampered Chef, which is a MLM that sells kitchen tools. We're owned by Warren Buffett, very quality company, Berkshire Hathaway. And so it's all women. Like there's a few guys. The first conference I go to, I called my wife up and I said, "Gail, there's 4,000 women in me." It's like a high school boy's dream, because they like to drink and dance. It was a lot of fun, and so to go to conference though, I would have to get, I can't be rooming with another female consultant, so I would call to ask around, like, who do you know that's a guy? Who do you know that's a guy? Well, most of the guys in Pampered Chef are gay, most of them. And there's very few guys to begin with, 98.6, they're all women. And so the first question I would ask if I would talk to someone is, "Are you gay?" "Yeah." "Well, what difference does that make?" "Well, I'm not going to room with you." "Well, why not?" "Well, I'm not going to come on to you or nothing." "Well, I just don't believe in your choice. And so I'm going to bid you good day." So that was my concept. Okay. And growing up in San Antonio, I didn't even know what a lesbian was, but I knew what a queer was. And we called them they had really bad names for jotos, maricons, that was a bad term. And so The only time I ever heard about queers were somebody got the crap beat out of them because they were gay.
Mm-hmm.
That's the only time I ever heard about it. And so now, so I go to college, and I was in a fraternity, and it was a medium-sized fraternity, Theta Xi at UT.
Mm-hmm.
And it was one of the best decisions I made in my life to become a frat guy. That's where I met my wife. That's another story in itself. But there was a gay section. I just stayed clear of those guys, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's all I knew about gays, you know. Like I didn't want to have anything to do with them. And then my daughter, she goes to counseling at our church, and it's St. Austin's on the Drag, and it's a very I'm going to say liberal church, you know. Like we are a blue city in a red state, you know, basically Austin, Texas. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And so it's like a very liberal church, big Catholic church. So she goes to talk to the nun, Sister Sharon, and she's explaining about her problem, like being gay and being Catholic and wanting to be a good Catholic. And several times in the conversation, Sister Sharon asked my daughter, Gina, have you ascertained your sexual orientation? Gina, have you ascertained your sexual orientation? Like asking my daughter, have you figured out you're gay? And so she's leaving that conversation really perplexed and like really starting to change about, well, maybe it's okay to be gay and be Catholic and be religious.
Mm-hmm.
You know, maybe it's okay. Then she goes to talk to our parish priest, Father Jim.
Mm-hmm.
And he tells her something that is unbelievably powerful. He says this. He says, Gina, you know God loves you, right? Well, you know God loves who you love, right? Well, then what's wrong with that? There's nothing wrong with that. So then we go talk to Father. Now, I didn't know about any of this, but she had been to counseling, you know, figured out she couldn't change, threw that away. And now she's coming to grips with being gay.
Mm-hmm.
And so, but I'm still not there. You know, I'm talking to people in my networking groups. I've always done a lot of networking. You know, people that I know that are gay, women, and talking to them and crying. You know, like, it's tough, you know, and they're empathizing with me. And so we go talk to Father Jim, and he says something that completely changes my paradigm. And he says, Gene, are you familiar with what's called the binomial distribution, the bell curve? Now, he didn't know I have a math degree from UT, math and statistics. I said, well, sure. He says, Gene, being gay is like you're normal, but you're not the norm, okay? You're normal. You're in the bell curve, but the norm is to be heterosexual, okay? And simplistically, over here you have the gays, and over here you have the bisexuals. But we're all normal. And you know what, Gene? Homosexuality, gayness, goes back to the dawn of man, and you can't change those stripes. And I said to him, so it's just as impossible for me to love a man physically as it is for Gina to love a man physically. And he said, yes, it's practically impossible. Now, there are bisexuals, okay, but they're very small part of the bell curve, but they're normal too, okay? And now, what hit me now was like a ton of bricks, because you know what? I'm left-handed. And in the world of left and right-handedness, I'm normal, but I'm not the norm. I'm not the norm. The norm is to be right-handed. And over here, simplistically, you have the left-hand, you have the ambidextrous, you have the left-handers, and you have the ambidextrous. And really, all left-handers are somewhat ambidextrous. Like, George, what do you do right-handed?
I don't know. I'll have to think. But I'm surely there are many things I operate much better with the right. Like when I play soccer, for example, I play with both, you know, with my both feet, right? You know, so there are many things I do with both hands, because one of the things was I think was education. I think part of my school, my first years in school, they were kind of a guiding you, or you know, like forcing you to use the right hand, so you kind of have to use it. I can't come up with what I do right now, but writing, of course, is the left hand. But I agree with you. Many things I would do better with my right hand. You know,
I can tell you
yeah.
right off the bat, I can't do left-handed scissors. I do right-handed
Oh,
scissors. I
okay,
play the guitar right-handed. I shoot a bow right-handed.
okay.
I dial the phone. I dial the phone right-handed. I use a mouse right-handed, but everything else I do left-handed. But I'm right-eyed. Okay, and so anyway, I'm going to take you to. Let's see. When I was 4 years old, I went to a Catholic Blessed Sacrament Academy, a Catholic kindergarten, and I'll never forget this as long as I live. My father comes storming into to the school one day, and he yells at the nuns in Spanish, "Déjalo," which means leave him alone, let him be left-handed. And from then on, they didn't jack with me.
Wow.
Now, the funny thing about that, I'm 4 years old. I don't remember ever telling my father, complaining about that, but I do remember that incident when he said, "Let him be left-handed."
You're just 4.
I was 4 years old.
You're just 4.
And so fast forward to we spent my wife and I spent 18 months in Europe living in a Volkswagen bus like hippies. We were living in Houston, Texas. Our first, I graduated 2 years ahead of Gail. I'm 2 years older than Gail. So I lived in Houston. I was a programmer for HL&P, Houston Lighting and Power. Houston Loot and Plunder, we called it. And so we carried on a long distance romance for 2 years, and then she graduated. We got married, and we lived in Houston for 3 years. And then one day I'm playing poker, and so my wife and her girlfriend and her sister did Europe on $5 a day before we got married. It was a book you could buy, and it was mainly geared for teachers. Spend the summer in Europe. You would rent a car, and you would live in cheap hotels. And so she bragged about that before we got married. And I says, well, we got to do that ourselves, but longer, maybe 6 months. And so when we got married, we didn't buy a second car or buy a color TV or buy a house or have kids. It was Europe money for Europe, money for Europe, money for Europe. We're going to quit our jobs and go to Europe. And, people would say, that's awesome, man. We're going to do that too. But the funny thing about when the day finally came, when we were going to quit our jobs, everybody changed. Like, are you really going to do that, Chavez? You're stupid. You won't have insurance. You won't have a job when you get back. That's crazy. Why are you going to do that?
Yeah.
The whole attitude changed, And so one day I'm playing poker. I used to play a lot, and I call this real poker, like Texas Hold'em. Like that game doesn't make sense unless you're playing for unlimited money. Like who the hell's going to fold for $25 in a neighborhood pot? It's not the same. But when you add the concept of unlimited money and hundreds of thousands, tens of thousands of dollars per bet, now that's a really good thing to watch. But neighborhood Texas Hold'em, so I played 5-card draw, 7-card stud down the river, mano escondido, bourrée. I played real poker. And this guy at the table says, my brother and his wife did that, and they lived in a Volkswagen bus in Europe. And I said, no shit. Where does your brother live? He lives in Alexandria, Virginia. I said, Alexandria, Virginia, what's his address? Dear Bob, I wrote him a postcard. He writes me back a 12-page letter on where to buy vans, insurance, what kind of sleeping bags to buy, what kind of books to take, a wealth of information. And as a result of that, the first thing we did when we got to Europe, he said, Amsterdam or London is when you're going to go buy a used van. People are leaving. They're selling their vans cheap or selling them to a used car lot. So we took a train to Amsterdam. Now, it was the spring of 1974. And the train to Holland, the tulips were in bloom. I mean, when you see those fields of reds and yellows and purples and almost, it's like blow your mind. And the windmills. And of course, the women could roll a joint that looked like a Marlboro cigarette. I mean, it's perfect. All of them could do it. And I spent 4 days in Amsterdam looking for a van, and I found a 12-year-old bus for 1,600 guilders. That's about $692. And it was a piece of shit. We call it the trash can van. But it had a pull-out bed, it had a drop-down stove, it had a gravity-operated water supply, it had cabinets built in like the bottom of a yacht, it had a pull-down stove, had a pull-down shaving thing, and it was a 1,200cc, 40-horsepower piece of crap Volkswagen. Looked terrible. Split window. And so we lived in that thing for 18 months, okay? 18 months. And so here's the story about being left-handed. Now, have you ever been to an Arab country?
No.
Mm,
Do you know what the left hand? You know what the left hand is used for in an Arab country?
yeah, to clean up your
Mhm.
It's only used for one thing.
yeah.
There are
Mhm.
no left-handers in Morocco or any Arab country.
Okay.
They don't exist, okay? Because it's only to clean your butt. When you go to a squat toilet with a hole in the ground, there's a little water faucet on the left-hand side, and you open it up, you wet your hand, and you wipe your butt with your hand, and you drip dry. Okay, so there's no toilet paper. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, and so we're in the edge of the desert, the edge of the Sahara, way south in Morocco. We're looking for gas. Now, once you enter Morocco, it's one of the few countries that you could buy gas coupons for half price. Okay, this is 1974. In 1974, gas was 55 cents a gallon in America, in Texas.
Hmm.
In Europe, it was $4 to $5 a gallon in 1974.
Wow.
Okay,
Yeah, it was.
$4 to $5 a
Yeah.
gallon, and that I'm talking gallons, not liters. Okay,
Mhm.
okay. So I know I was doing the math right. So you could buy gas coupons for half price. So it was a good deal, and you bought them in 10-liter coupons. Then you put in 10 liters, and you signed over. You signed them, and then the merchant turned it in for dirhams. That's the coin of the realm in Morocco. Dirhams like dollars.
Mhm.
Okay. And so we're at the edge of the desert, no gas, and there's this gas station with 2 pumps, no electricity, and a hut. And we pull up, and this guy comes out. This guy comes out in a jalaba. That's the hooded men wear jalabas. And he comes out, and he hand cranks 20 liters of gas into my Volkswagen bus. And I pull out the book, and I start to sign the first ticket left-handed. And he looks at me like I was the devil incarnate. And he goes, "À gauche," which is French for the left hand. And he turned and walked away. He was not going to accept my money because I was left-handed.
Mhm.
Because there's no left-handers in Morocco. So, and so I thought about all those things about being left-handed, and I thought, I am just like Gina. Okay, I'm normal, but I'm not the norm. I'm left-handed, and she's gay, and we're the same. And she's a Gemini, just like me.
Mhm.
She likes, she gets her ability to perform and be an awesome on-stage person. Write music because of that's me coming through her.
Mhm.
And so, so when he said, "Are you familiar with the binomial distribution and the bell curve?" It just all changed. I just completely changed my paradigm. That I can't be right-handed. I would have to cut off my left hand to be right-handed.
Mhm.
And so, just like I can't be right-handed, Gina can't be straight. And so we're the same.
That's
It
beautiful.
changed my whole paradigm about
But how long did it take for the whole realization?
years.
Years.
But that one conversation with my parish priest kind of did it for me. Like in an instant, I was converted because I saw the light, like just like that. Mhm. So
I like the way you converge the stories. You put it. You're telling a story, and then you mixed the whole story, and then you kind of put it a knot in all the stories. That's awesome. That's
It ties all together.
yeah, just the way I can see that is expresses in your poetry. That's what I felt it.
I'm gonna read a poem from about my father dying when I was 10. Okay, so I was telling Hilton and George here that I like rhyming pentameter poetry. It rhymes and it has a good flow and has a bounce to it. But I learned about a new style of poetry. It's called freestyle. It doesn't rhyme, but it flows and it has good thought patterns. And if you've never heard of a poet called Billy Collins, you need to look him up. He is awesome. The way he writes poetry, just incredible. Okay, so this is a poem about my father. It's called Clueless, 1957. For Adán Eugenio Chavez by Adán Eugenio Chavez. So it's me talking about my father. Okay. Every May 31st, 3 days before my birthday, I find myself back in 1957. It was a Friday in San Antonio, Texas. Baseball fields were green with real grass, and my world was still pretending to be whole. I had invited my across the street neighbor over to play Clue, a game I almost always won. It was Colonel Mustard in the study with the wrench and me grinning at my soon-to-be inevitable triumph. My father, Adam, or Adan, as its way is pronounced in Spanish, had been home all week, which was strange because he was not that kind of man who stayed home because he was never sick. But he wasn't home on Wednesday, and he did something he'd never done before. He showed up at my baseball game at Holy Name Field wearing a look that I now understand as quietly proud. A veritable first and an unforeseen last. He saw me get a hit, steal second, and score, and I was ever so proud with naivete. That very same day, the doctor gave him a clean bill of health. False positives, I learned, are not just for lab results, but for life. At 10 p.m. on that Friday, the clue board lay open between us like a map to nowhere when my mother stumbled in, her voice cracking. He's gone. He's gone. And just like that, the pieces didn't matter, the wrench, the rope, the characters didn't care, and all the rooms were ice cold. He was 46. He would have been 47 on June 23rd. Instead, he was buried on June 3rd, my 10th birthday. Talk about timing that will haunt you and taunt you. I asked Father Joe, my parish priest, if I could be an altar boy at the funeral. Although now I don't know why. Maybe I thought wearing the robe would make me stronger. It didn't. Nothing did. Father Joe rejected my request. It was open casket. My sister Annette was 3, too young for funerals, they said, though grief knows no age restriction and closure still eludes her. I don't remember that summer. It folded in on itself like a page on a journal that was blank. But I remember that following school year in the fall, the way some kids would look at me sideways with a downcast look and say, "Did your father really die?" Like a rumor I had started myself. I never played Clue again. The mystery was too real, and this time there was no winner. So that gives you a feeling of when I was 10 and that happening to me.
When did you write this?
Last year when I learned I could write like this.
Oh.
You know, I always told the story, but I told the story. I didn't put it to verse. So now it's a lot better, I think.
Incredible. Yeah. It's very touchy. It's very touchy.
And also, if you're talking about 1957, that's about 68 years ago, right? Which is the whole memory, like, of course, you've been telling yourself the story to yourself many times, not like all tied up like it is right now, but I think you said about you're speaking about closure, before we start recording, and also it's about that too, probably being able to put it all together.
Yeah, it's something that I think could be passed on.
Yes.
So I have a story about Scotch.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay.
See,
Yeah.
now this is a single malt Scotch. So when I was in college, Joe Namath won Super Bowl number 3. The New York Jets, heavy underdogs, playing the Baltimore Colts, the world champions of the previous year. And he was a braggadocio. He said, bet on the Colts, bet on the Jets, we're going to beat them. And of course, nobody believed him, and he beat them. Super Bowl number 3. I'll never forget this. And he was a playboy, and he drank Johnny Walker Red, which is a blended Scotch. And so naturally, since I've always liked the taste of Scotch, and so naturally, I wanted to be cool, so I drank Johnny Walker Red and Pinch and Cutty Sark and kind of the good blended Scotches. I didn't even know what this was, single malt. So back to Europe. We get to Europe, and we spend 6 weeks in the UK, and one of the first things I started bragging about was Johnny Walker's bottle in Kilmarnock, Scotland. And we did a lot of tours, tours like to drink beer and whiskey, and we did a lot of that stuff, and so I was bragging, we're headed to Kilmarnock, Scotland eventually to go to the Johnny Walker, and so the Brits would say, Johnny Walker, that's for the fucking Yanks. We don't drink that shit. We drink single malt.
Yeah, exactly.
And I didn't even know what that was. I didn't even know what single malt was. And so we get to Kilmarnock. We get to the Johnny Walker factory, to the distillery, and we're pretty scruffy looking. My hair's real long. Okay, and it's 1:10, and so we say we're here for the tour, and they say, oh, the tour was at 1. The next tour is at 4, and I said, shit, 4 o'clock. That's a long time. Where are you from? We're from Texas. You're from the States. Come with us. So they took us. They took us to the tour, which was en route. There was like 12 Europeans, and they put us in the front. And for the rest of the tour, those people did not exist. They only spoke to Gail and I. It was a woman. It was a woman doing the tour, and because we found out that Americans buy half of their production, half. Now we get to the big vat over this big vat with a hole in it before the tasting room, and this is the funny part of the story. She says, and now we're going to show you how we turn Johnny Walker Red. Now, if you hold up a bottle of Johnny Walker Red, it's red. It's not whiskey colored. It's definitely red. And so she, hello there, welcome.
Hi.
Welcome.
You just noticed me?
I did, out of the corner of my eye. So, by the way, this is Becky.
Yes. Hi. Keep reading your story, Gene.
Yep, Becky.
Becky.
So when you talk on the microphone, you have to talk just in front of it.
Okay.
Yes, like this. Now we can
Awesome.
hear. Yeah. And
So-
then to show up on that camera, you might need to. Let me try and move this camera. For some reason, things get knocked out and then change angles. But yeah, so that's Becky.
So we'll let you introduce yourself as I finish this story here myself. She opens the vat and she says, now we're going to tell you how we turn Johnny Walker Red. And she has a 5-gallon bucket of melted caramel candy and she pours it in the vat. And that's how we turn Johnny Walker Red. It's melted caramel candy in the vat. And that is a funny story.
It is. Yeah.
That's good.
It is an awesome story. Thank you. I will always remember this. Yeah.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, that's Becky.
Sorry.
Becky is also with us today. Becky.
A little late. The traffic was insane.
Yeah.
35.
Tells us a little bit about you.
You
Becky.
came. That's what matters.
Yeah.
Yes. So
Yes.
thank you for having me late.
Yeah, for
It
sure.
is funny in these headphones.
It
I
is.
know, yeah.
It
But
sounds
it's okay.
funky, but it won't be like
Yeah.
that when you listen to that.
I actually had a podcast years ago when podcasts were becoming cool. If I had stuck with it, it probably would have been something, but I didn't. So I have all the equipment too. Mine did not sound like this. So
Well, that's because
it's
we
just-
don't put the filters on the return of. We could. It's just that we don't put the time on it. That's, so who is Becky?
So I own Dashboard Local and help automate digital marketing for small businesses. And so I help the little guys.
Cool.
I don't know if that's a nice word to say, but that's what I do. Like I feel very passionate for the business owners who are just starting, trying to make it, trying to grow it, that kind of stuff. And they don't have the money and time, effort, know-how to do this stuff. And so then I help them with that.
Not
Yeah.
good. Thanks for coming, Becky.
Thank you for
Yeah.
having me. What kind of topics have y'all been talking about today? Did you have
Oh.
a certain topic?
We had a lot of things.
Gene Chavez stories.
Do
Yeah.
you have a whole list of Gene Chavez
Yes.
stories going on over there? Okay.
The whole script is in there. Yeah.
I've talked about it, some like key turning points in my life. That's what I've been talking about.
Oh, this
but
is your memoirs.
Well, kind of. So I'm going to mention something that, okay, it's about to be August, okay?
Okay.
And August 1st, 1966 is when Charles Whitman shot everyone on the UT Tower. And he
Ooh.
shot at me, okay?
Mhm.
So, and I used to tell this story, okay? I used to tell this story about what happened, but I put it to free verse, okay?
Okay.
So
Here we go.
This is called August 1st, 1966. It was a Central Texas Monday. My summer classes at UT were TTS. So I was at work at DRL, Defense Research Lab, close to the Mustangs on Red River and behind the UT Law School. Austin is hot. August is hot in Austin, Texas. And on that Monday, even the shade was sweating. I was driving across campus to eat lunch at TLOK, a co-op on Rio Grande. The top of my red MG Midget was down because putting it up was like assembling a jigsaw puzzle that hates you. The radio was on, and some smooth DJ's voice suddenly changed like words hitting on broken glass. All cars in the UT area must avoid campus. There's a sniper on the tower shooting people. Foolishly, I thought probably somebody with a .22 rifle. And what could he hit? So I proceeded west on 21st Street, which is slightly uphill, past Gregory Gym on the right. And a man sprang up from behind a bush, a human yield sign, his arms flailing back and forth, his mouth forming the words, "Don't go. Don't go." He was doing this. So I stopped, put the MG in first, and zoomed past the fountain, like it's the tower, the main mall, and Littlefield Fountain, okay? And I'm headed towards the drag, Guadalupe, looking up at the tower, when to my utter horror, the murderous sound of ka-ching, ka-ching, flirting with the fender of my day, metal on pavement, sharp and wild like wolves wailing after losing the trail. I quietly turned south on White Street, just past the English building, detouring to the co-op on Rio Grande. Steered by instinct and fueled by fear, I slowed down when I spotted two college kids my age on a roof with deer rifles shooting back at the tower, and a cop on the street yelling out loud his approval, "Go ahead, all we've got is fucking shotguns." Back at the co-op, TLOK, the Lord only knows, it was more than four initials. It housed the coolest co-op name on campus. We sat listening to the radio, lunch forgotten, trying to chew meaning from static and head shaking. I took the long way back to work. I saw a fellow T-locker, initials BH, tearing down the stairs with two cameras swinging like cowboy pistols. "I'm going to make me some money," he said, as if the day were hosting the Battle of Flowers parade in San Antonio, not the beginning of something we fear and hear almost every week today on the news. Inside DRL, a naval research lab, we took turns with the periscope, watching the figure move between the slits of the tower, like a shadow playing chess with lives. Later, after the silence, I wandered across campus where glass no longer believed in itself, and limestone had been carved by something worse than time and stained with an unforgettable red. The blood was in scatterings, as even if had tried to run away. On that day, I was both lucky and stupid, but I'm lucky to reflect on how 2 minutes would mean the difference between the numbers 15 dead and 31 wounded and a forest fire reaching the last live tree. Charles Whitman was a student at UT. At 10 till the hour, the bell would ring and students would depart campus, flooding the main mall. He started the carnage at 11:48. Had he waited till 11:50, 2 more minutes, the main mall below would have been a slew of students heading to their last day on earth. I called my mother in San Antonio. The distance between breath and bullet suddenly measurable, and Mercy, a sting with joyous dial tone and a voice almost sobbing, "Ay, mijo, I'm so glad you're safe." So I posted every August 1st on Facebook, but this time I'm posting this poem. I would just tell the story, but this is my version of free verse, and I'm told it's good.
It's
It's good.
It's really incredible, Gene, because I was telling Hilton about this the other day. I've been in quite a few traumatic events in my life, just like that, and like how do you handle it? And a few of those have actually been like as a mother with my children, and like how do you handle those things and stuff like that. And like actually, you're talking about the sniper. I was part of the DC sniper shootings 20 some years ago now, and which actually came in handy because my most recent traumatic event of that nature, I was at a cheer competition, and there was, I say sort of, an active shooter situation. And I was yelling at my daughter as we were running away, like all these things these tips and tricks that they were like teaching us back in the DC sniper shooting stuff, of like running in zigzag patterns and like hiding behind the things and like this type of stuff. And it's really crazy that you brought that story up. It's scary. And you don't know what you're going to do. And people will tell you left and right all day long of the things that they would do, or I can't imagine. And honestly, you can't imagine because you've never experienced it. If you've never experienced it. And even like, we just went through all the flooding and stuff like that. And I have a creek and it flooded and it got real close to my house, but it was no damage and all that. So I can't even imagine with the people that actually like went through the damage or the loss of life and that kind of stuff.
So in 1981, Memorial, Austin flooded. It's called the Great Memorial Day Flood of 1981. We live on Show Creek, and Show Creek flooded my house in 1981. And I'll never forget that as long as I live, because my son was 2. And like, you don't remember when you're 2.
No.
But he remembers.
Okay.
Because it was so traumatic.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so if you picture where I live in Allendale Park, and so it runs north and south, and Show Creek runs right here, and here's the railroad tracks, and then here's Northwest Hills, and then here is Burnett Road. So Burnett Road is a slight incline going north and south. Then here's our neighborhood right here, and like we had 17 inches of rain in 2 days, and Show Creek. With a 2-inch rain, it looks like the raging Mississippi. It has always looked like that. Mm-hmm. But this year, it came out of its banks and flooded the house. But before it did that, the water coming from Burnett Road was rooster tailing. The creek was holding. So me and my neighbor were out there watching the creek with flashlights, and the water coming from Burnett Road was rooster tailing over the curb 2.5 feet. The manhole covers were floating down the street. The sewers were so full of water. Mm-hmm. The manhole covers had popped up and were can you imagine a 200-pound manhole cover floating down the street? Mm-hmm. Okay. And then the water started to come in our house. And Gail said, "Put your speakers up and let's get the hell out of here." Like that's the only time I ever had a pickup truck. So I put the speakers up, speakers like you used to have the,
Are they like this,
yes.
like
yeah.
this tall?
This tall, yeah.
Put them on the coffee table, and we hauled ass out the door, and that's the only reason we got out of the flood, because I had a pickup truck. And we went to live with some neighbors in Crestview, which is right across Burnett Road, where we had a rental property. And okay, so there's a bridge that crosses Show Creek at Northwest Park, called on Greenlawn Parkway, and it was an upright bridge with uprights. There was a bridge that you could cross over into the neighborhood just north of us, which is now a walking bridge, but it used to be a driving bridge, okay? Mm-hmm. And there was 6 cars in the creek on those uprights from that bridge. 6 cars. That flood killed 13 people that year. And so we barely got out. The neighbors on either side, they spent the night up on the roof. Oh, I can't imagine doing that all night. And so our house is built like different from all other houses. Like, it's a long driveway, and the garage curves to the left. It's in back of the house, and then there's the creek. All of the houses are house garage, like next to it. Mm-hmm. But ours is in back of the house. So when the creek waters came and flooded, it destroyed the garage, but it dispersed the water around the house. Mm. The other 2 houses, they got a lot more water. They got 3 foot of water. We got 1 foot of water. And I never remember ripping out all the carpet and going in with the hose and spraying down the whole house to get all the mud out, And we lived on, like everything was destroyed. The air conditioners were destroyed. So we lived on cold concrete floors for like 6 months before we could get,
something
air
else
conditioning again.
Yeah.
It wasn't too bad. It was the summer. I mean, it was May 31st, 1981.
81.
And so it was an amazing experience. I mean, the power of running water will blow your mind. Mm-hmm. I mean, we saw it. We saw the power of running water. And like I used to teach comedy defensive driving. I caught that for 15 years. Mm-hmm. I was a funny instructor, and I would say 6 inches of water, 6 inches. When they say don't go across a low water bridge when it's running, 6 inches of water can pull you into the creek.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
just 6 inches, because the power of running water is like, it's unbelievably powerful.
Another poem?
What?
Another free form you have?
Well, I'm thinking, what am I missing here? Oh yeah, I'm going to talk about So I'm going to talk about becoming a landlord. So at the end of 18 months, we had enough money to last for 2 years. Because I never spent one night. Well, I spent one night in a hotel because I needed a real toilet. I was really sick. But what was amazing about Europe is that the first time, we went to 7 Grand Prix, and we'd meet people all the time. And the first time someone said, "Hey, if you're ever in Belgium, look us up. Here's where we live." And so the first time we did that, I couldn't believe it. Like they would kick a kid out of a bedroom, introduce us to the extended family, take us to the best restaurants, wouldn't let us buy anything, and like we're total strangers. Like we could be the son of Sam, and it happened a lot in Europe. It happened a lot. I couldn't believe it. Like probably 4 or 5 months we just spent with people living in their houses. Like unbelievable. Like that would never happen here. I mean, you wouldn't take a total stranger in for 3 or 4 days.
That's back in 1974, right?
1974. Okay.
Not like now. I don't know.
George is keeping tabs over here. Come on.
Yeah, I'm keeping tabs. Yeah. No, just do you know what his story he's talking about? Because
I mean, I'm catching on.
All right. Okay. All right.
If he's still coming in to
yeah. All right.
like what I walked into.
Just to contextualize.
My wife and I lived 18 months in a Volkswagen bus in Europe.
Oh yeah. Okay.
Like hippies.
Okay.
Like
yeah.
Formula One bullfights in the sun.
Yeah.
And so anyway, our tickets ran out, and we had to fly to New York, and then had to fly to Texas. So we said, "How much does it cost to ship the van back?" Well, it cost $600 to ship the van back, and I said, "Shit, let's ship it back." So we drove to Hamburg, where we put the van on a freighter, and we flew to New York City, and we had friends in Queens. No, we had friends in the Bronx, in Brooklyn, in Long Island, and Manhattan. And we stayed 6 weeks just in New England and in Massachusetts, just visiting friends we met in Europe the whole time. And it was called, like, it was the wintertime. And like, I'm not used to winter. But they had this thing up there called Indian summer, which is like, it's not really cold. It's not really cold like it can get. And so we spent 6 weeks in Indian summer up there just visiting friends. And the van came in Baltimore. And we said, well, why don't we're just going to visit people driving back to Texas. So we spent 6 more weeks driving back to Texas, visiting people we met in Europe, all 6 more weeks.
That's good.
And so I had a fraternity brother and a high school buddy that lived in Chicago, Paul Offer. And I said, let's go visit Paul in Chicago. Well, it was not Indian summer in Chicago. It was like 47 below with a wind chill factor.
What was it? Yeah, which month was it?
It's wintertime. It was
wintertime.
like
I lived in Chicago. So
January.
I can attest to that. I can't. He just mentioned this. The wind chill factor. The wind chill factor, you have no idea how it changes.
Yeah.
It goes, as I said, beyond 40, 47, 50.
Like I never expected it. It was like horrible.
Yes.
I caught the worst cold I caught the worst cold in the summer in San Francisco one summer.
Really?
But anyway, so fast forward many years, I joined Pampered Chef, and they have their summer conferences in Chicago. And I said, I ain't never going back to Chicago, man. But they have them in July, and in July, Chicago's like beautiful.
Hot.
Well, not hot to us.
Yeah, well, it gets to 100 degrees, 105.
Oh, really?
It's pretty hot. Yeah.
But it's like they have crews that like take care of the flowers. And
Yes,
there's the
yeah.
architectural tour. There's a shed aquarium.
Wonderful.
There's that great pizza. There's all that music, and there's 2 baseball teams. And it was like, it's awesome to go to
Yes.
Chicago in the summer. I've spent 7 conferences going to Chicago.
Wow.
Just learning about Chicago in the summer. So it was awesome.
I've only been there the one time in the winter.
Yeah.
Go in the summer. Yeah.
Yeah. And I'm from Virginia, so we had winters, but like not like that.
No. Flat. The whole seat is flat. So
So the coolest, like, there's only 2 stadiums that are original. Like, I'm a big baseball nut. There's only 2 stadiums that are original. It's Fenway Park and Wrigley Field. They're the only 2 left that are original. And Wrigley Field's always sold out. Like you can't buy a ticket. But I learned real early on. You go to a Wrigleyville bar. There's a ton of them. And you drink a couple of beers, and the third inning, you go across the street, and the scalpers want to get rid of those tickets, and you buy a really cheap ticket for like $10. And so I got to see 3 Cubs games, at Wrigley Field, and one of them was the crosstown rivalry with the White Sox playing the Cubs,
Wow.
So it was like it's an incredible city in the summer, just incredible, just a beautiful city. But I'd never live there; it would kill me. So that's.
You mentioned San Francisco, that you caught a cold in San Francisco.
Oh, yeah.
I think San Francisco is an amazing city also.
So I had a friend that he was he eventually ended up in Houston. My best friend from grade school, Bill Baeza, ended up being like a news anchorman in Houston. But he was in San Francisco learning his craft, and it was August, I think, one summer. And so we're going to spend 2 weeks up in San Francisco with him. Never been to San Francisco. And he says, Gene, bring warm clothes. And I said, shit, warm clothes? It's California, man. It's the summer. Shit, I'm not taking warm clothes. So we drive up Fiat. I had a Fiat 124 Spider, a beautiful car.
Yeah.
Top down the whole way, tank tops and shorts. We're driving out there. I mean, I'm in his apartment freezing my ass off. Like going, I said, Billy, turn on the goddamn air conditioner. And he says, there's no air conditioning here. He gave us tickets to the Giants game when they were at Candlestick Park. I mean, there was people walking in like dressed for a football game, like long, like heavy coats and mufflers and blankets. And it was cold. It was freezing. I couldn't believe how cold it was. But it's a beautiful city, lots to do, and we did a lot, Mendocino and the Golden Gate Bridge, and the sourdough bread, and
I think my favorite part was we like flew in, and then we took a train, like a trolley, not the trolley, but like
Tram.
a tram, yeah, from the airport to like sort of near where our hotel was going to be. So we had to walk a little bit, like a couple blocks, and we get out and we're walking the street. And I saw some homeless people like right off the bat, but then I smelled urine like so bad. And I was like, what in the hell did we get ourselves into? Like, why are we here? This is disgusting. And so we keep walking. And as we go up the hill, obviously, a guy in a car like stops and starts yelling at somebody on the sidewalk. He's like, hey, Joe. I don't remember what his name was. Long time no see. Like, what's up? Like, and they were like super friendly and talking. And like the more we went up the hill, the friendlier like the city got, and like everybody was friendly the whole rest of the trip. It was just, my first impression was like complete disgust. And then it was awesome after that. And we ate in Chinatown the entire time we were there. It was
Where was
amazing.
it?
In Chinatown.
Yeah, but back and experience
Like
10 years?
12 years ago.
12 years ago.
Yeah, 13 years ago. It was quite a ways. So, yeah. I do also have a story too about the California like summers and being cold. We went to San Diego one year, and we went to the beach, and people were like in the water and like swimming in bathing suits and all this kind of stuff. It was August.
oh, the Pacific is cold.
Because yeah, but like we were acclimated to like August heat, like here, that I went there and I literally had on my sweatshirt and pants like on the beach, and I was like, I'm not daring to even like touch that water.
Well, the Pacific is really cold compared to
Atlantic.
compared to like the Gulf or
the Gulf,
or
yeah.
the Atlantic even. Okay.
Yeah.
So so the one visual thing I want to share with you is this story about we're going down the mountains of Yugoslavia, when it was Yugoslavia, towards the Dalmatian coast, because we heard that the best nudist camps in the world were on the Dalmatian coast. So we're headed for a nudist camp.
Okay.
And I'll never forget this as long as I live. So
This is the 70s, right?
Last year.
Yeah, those are the 70s. Yeah.
74.
Yeah.
So we're going around a curve, and there's a cutout, and there's all these cars and all these people out of the cars doing this. So we thought, well, let's get out and see what the hell they're looking at, okay? So I wrote a poem about it.
I love the poem.
It's the title of the poem is "The Sea That Stole the Sky." Okay, when Gail and I were young and free, we heard that the beaches of Yugoslav were foremost for nudist camping, and we said, "Why not? We don't know anyone there who would judge or even care." Now, descending to the sea, the Adriatic Sea, that is, we had to drive down and down through the mountainous region that dipped into that blue, like a tired traveler lowering slowly into a cool bath. If you've ever seen the Med and just how blue and clear it is, the Adriatic puts that blue to shame. A deeper, richer blue, as if someone had wrung the sky and let all its color run out. Windy, twisty, and somewhat serene, we rounded a curve, and to our good fortune, there it was, a pullout littered with others who had stopped, some parked at haphazard angles, as if the drivers had left out and in mid-motion, unable to resist an excerpt from the Twilight Zone. People stood outside their cars, heads tilting up, then down, searching for the line that wasn't there, the sky and the sea, two halves of an infinite brushstroke, refusing to acknowledge one another. And there to the left and below, way, way below, there was a lone fishing boat, almost motionless as it slipped through the illusion, cutting the blue in two. And behind it, a trail of ripples, a quiet, insistent that yes, there is a below and an above. As I cast my eyes upwards to erase the boat from view, I found myself questioning my eyes. For even with the boat gone and even with my feet on terra firma, I was now not sure where the world began and where it ended. And now, like today, it's difficult to know, of course, what is true and what is blue. I mean, that picture, you couldn't tell where the sea met the sky. It was the same blue. I'll never forget that as long as I live. And I took a bunch of pictures, but you can't tell. You can't get the experience
From the picture.
from the pictures of what I saw and what everyone else was seeing. It was like an experience like from the Twilight Zone. Awesome visual experience. And now it's on Burst.
Cool. I love it.
I like your inspirations, from, you write from those unforgettable memories. And sometimes if you don't write like you do, they are great for you, but now you are making your moment great for us.
Mm-hmm.
That's please keep writing.
Thank you.
It's nice. I like it.
Are y'all not smoking cigars today?
No, we did puff drink talk without the puff. And we're drinking and talking. By the way, if you need more beer, Gene, let me know.
I think I'll have one more. No, I think I'll have. I like some a little.
You have a glass over there. It's clean.
I like a.
Then you can serve yourself.
So I want to talk one more time about. So we get back from Europe, and we're living in a rent house in Crestview. It's on Cullen Street, and the lease ran out. I was working for Texas Instruments. I was a programmer. I wrote the software that ran the factory. That was my first job, and worked for TI for 18 years, and so the lease ran out, and the landlord's name was Crutchfield, kind of a funny name. He says, Gene, I'm going to sell the house. I'm going to get my money out, so you have to move. I said, oh, no, I don't want to move. I'll buy it from you. And so I bought this house, 902 square feet, pier and beam, cracker box, aluminum siding, no window units, big lot, though, 9,000 square feet, big garage, 2-1. And so I just bought it. And then a year later, I had a realtor. And I said, here's what we want. 3-2, 1-story, big lot, big garage. And so about a year later, the realtor said, there's a place going up on Allendale Park. It's perfect. It's where we live now. Okay. And go through it. It's going to go on the market on Monday. And if you like it, offer full price, was her advice to me. So so it was perfect. We offered full price, just like our realtor suggested. And Monday, 6 contracts came in. And guess what? We were the only full price. So guess who got it? We got it.
You
So
did.
I learned something very early on, and that if you have a realtor that you trust, take their advice. Don't try to argue with them, or don't try and second guess them, because that's what they're paid for, is to know their business. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And so, when that happened, I said, well, why don't we just be landlords? And I'm like, what could be so hard about that? So I've been a landlord at that place on Cullen since 1976. And, I have lots of horror stories about being a landlord, because it's not easy to be a landlord.
Mm-hmm.
And I've been a landlord for, maybe we had 8 at one time. We're down to 2. And now that place that we lived in initially, where my son lived in, and had many tenants, it's wiped, and we're building a $1.8 million big house. And so we're finally going to get our equity out, hopefully. I know it's a bad time for sellers, but we're going to call it the crown jewel of Crestview, the way it's going to look. I'll show you some pictures in a minute. But anyway, that's my. I mean, have any of you been landlords?
No, I have not.
Okay.
No.
So I had these 2 gals that it was time when, there's times when you need to rent the place, and it's not easy to rent. And so these 2 gals, they showed up, and well, what do you do? Well, I'm a dancer, and one's a bartender, and Carol, the other one's. Well, anyway, a dancer, she was a stripper, so maybe the rent was like $500 a month at the time. But we got paid with many, many $1 bills. And you know where those came from? $1 bills, okay?
Yeah.
And lots of two-party checks, checks, okay? And it was a nightmare. Carol, Gail would remember. Because anyway, I've had lots of funny stories about being a landlord. But the first time I found, does everybody know what the term cash out means? Cash out in a rental property.
Yes.
You know what it means?
Yeah. So, well, I think I do. So you have, let's say you have a mortgage, and then you refinance, and then you cash it out, a little bit of the profit from the equity that you had.
Okay. So basically how it works is you have a property that you've been invested in for a while. Let's say 8 years.
Get the microphone a little closer to you.
8 years.
Yeah, that.
And so the property has appreciated in value, and the mortgage rate drops at least 2 points. And so here's what you can do. You can refinance the property for 80% of the new market value. And if the interest rates have dropped and you keep the loan at 30 years, the money stays about the same. The PITI, PITI is property insurance, taxes, PITI, principal, interest, TI, taxes and insurance.
Yes, that's right.
PITI, that's
Yes.
the note. Okay, that stays about the same. It may be $100 one way or the other, but it stays about the same. And so if you bought it at 100K, say, and it's appreciated to 180K, you can take a loan out on 80% of the new value. And so the difference between what you get the loan for and what you pay off the original note for is cash out, and it's free money. It's free.
Cash out refi during the 2020. I worked in the mortgage
So,
business for 3 years. A lot of people have done that. Yeah.
So
the
it's
cash
like
out
you're
refi.
pulling out anywhere from $20,000 to $60,000 cash money that's free. It's like there's no taxes because it's a loan, and you can do anything you want to with it. And when I first found out about that, I said, "This is legal? This is legal?" So I've done it many times. And so as a result of being a landlord, making that decision, why don't we just be landlords? Back in 1976, oh my God, it's been wonderful for Gail and I, because we have never had any debt at all. Like, everything's paid for, except for the rental properties. And the tenants pay for that. They pay for that,
Yeah.
You don't pay for that. They pay for that. And so they're living, they're paying the taxes, and your property's appreciating. And so we've never had any debt. So it's amazing to live a life with no debt. The cars are paid for. If the insurance bill is, $500, you pay it off. It's $5,000, you pay it off. It's because we have no debt. It's incredible lifestyle but we've never really, I don't drive a Lamborghini. We don't live in a $2 million $2 million property, and so we've always lived,
frugally.
Both our parents, well, conservatively, not. I know we're not frugal.
Yeah.
And so it's a great thing to have gotten into, just like by the look. I mean, it was just, why don't we just be landlords? It was luck. I mean, so I've been so lucky. And then, like finding out about my about my lipids, and getting the drugs that I needed. And I have no, whatever drugs I take, I have no reaction to any drugs. I'm real lucky. Like no reaction at all. So I'm fortunate there. And of course, the patch doesn't interfere with any drug program because it's just light. And
you're not taking any medications?
Oh no, I take a lot of medications.
Oh, okay.
So basically, you kind of wait until everything drops, and then you start getting rid of them. But that takes a while. It takes about you have to wear the patch for. By the way, if you're just tuning in, it's the stem cell activation patch, which has both a health side and a business side. You need to wear it about every a month for every decade, and I'm almost 80, so I'm now. This is my 7th month, and so everything's starting to kick in on the long-term effects. My age reversal, like I couldn't do this. I couldn't open a jar in January. My hair was all white in January. I'm at a weight I haven't been at since my 40s. My cholesterol readings my triglycerides are all way down. And I have tons of stories of people on my team on the business side that have amazing stories, like macular degeneration, neuropathy, sleep disorder. It's like an amazing story for what this thing can do. But you have to be consistent. I sit by people like people in NIA. I've been doing that, Chavez, for a long time, but I'm not consistent, so I don't see any results. I said, well.
That's the answer. Yeah, there was someone who's like, I used it and didn't do anything for me. And it's like, how long did you use for?
3 days.
2 weeks. Like, well, it's not like that. I mean, I'm using it and I can see differences. So, but I have been using it for 4 months now. So, yeah, and I'm almost 50. So,
do you notice it only
should be
physical
better, I guess.
physical benefits, or do you feel cognitive, mental benefits too? Or do you think it's more physical?
Well, it depends. Like when the stem cells start to reactivate, and I didn't know this, but by the time you're 30, you've lost 60% of your stem cells. 50, 75%, 60, 90%. They're just not there. So when an older person falls and breaks a hip, they may not recover, because you need stem cells to recover from a fever, a tumor, an injury, an infection. You need those stem cells, and they're just gone. They don't work anymore. Like I have a grandson that's now 14. I mean, he grew like 4 inches and gained 25 pounds in like 2 months. That's those stem cells kicking in. When a kid has an injury that's serious, they recover fast because they have 1 billion stem cells, but you lose them over time. And so you don't know what they're going to do, because they have a mind of their own. When you reactivate, they're going to go fix the stuff that needs to be fixed. You might not see anything or feel anything. Like the first time I stepped into my like I started in January, like I stepped into the barber's chair. I go to a barber. Her name is Callie. And it was in February, and I stepped into the chair, and she says, "Gene, I noticed your weight right away, and your hair's changing. It's becoming darker." This is my hair in January, all white, totally white. And so look at my hair now. It's got color back in, and it's getting thicker. And like when you look at yourself in the mirror every day, you really don't notice a subtle change. I took that picture that day right there, and that was a month before. It's pretty amazing what it can do.
Yeah.
And so this guy calls me up, when I was at TI, I was in Amway, and did that for 10 years, and I did pretty good at Amway. I had about 100 people on my team, but the diamond, the executive diamond, they make $1 million a year. So he was my diamond, and I did it for 10 years, and then I quit. Then I started doing Pampered Chef, and the story of me quitting is kind of it's not a good story. But I get a call in December, and a guy named Robert Pena calls me, and we grew up in San Antonio together. We went to St. Henry's Academy. He's actually younger than me, 75, and him and his wife live in Lakeway, and she died about 2 years ago. And he's been like, you lose your lifelong partner, you may die pretty quick yourself.
Mm-hmm.
So he's not doing good. So he calls me up, and I said, "Hey, Robert, you sound pretty good." And he says, "Yeah, let me let you talk to someone." And John Maris gets on the line, the executive diamond from Amway. I didn't know it was him. And I said, "Well, whoever you are, you sound pretty young." And he says, "Gene, it's John Maris." And I said, "No kidding. We haven't spoken in 35 years. And he tells me this story. He said, "Kathy and I got divorced." And I said, "You did?" Like when you're in Amway, there can be two people on the contract. And when you get a divorce, that's a big problem. Like they don't split that business. It's a willable income, Amway. And so I said, "What happened to the Amway business?" He says, "I gave it all to Kathy. We have 5 kids, so I didn't want any bad blood, but I'm now remarried." I said, "You remarried?" Her name is Vicky, and she's a nurse, and we've been married about 1.5 years. I said, "You remarried?" And he says, "And let me tell you what happened. She needs meniscus surgery, like meniscus."
Mm-hmm.
And they go, it's real non-invasive. They go in with a probe and they fix it, like with laser or something. They don't cut you open anymore.
Mm-hmm.
My wife had that done 15 years ago, piece of cake. Well, Vicky's knee did not recover well. After 4 months of paid therapy, 7 or 8 pain, can't go back to work. And so John says, "Well, we gotta get you back to work." He's still doing MLM stuff, and we need the insurance. So let's pay for 4 more months of therapy so you can go back to work. Well, after 8 months of therapy, she can't pick up 7 or 8 pain. They go to this party in Dallas, and the host says, "Hey, Vicky, what's wrong with you? Come here." And they put a patch on her. And they're driving home, and she says, "John, they put this patch on my knee, and my knee feels a lot better." And he says, "It's impossible." "What's in that patch?" "I don't know what's in that patch." "Well, it's impossible. It's placebo. It's psycho-cybernetics.
Mm-hmm.
So they get home, and she says, "Order some more. Get some more of these patches. My knee feels." After 4 days on the patch, after he gets his package, the pain's gone, and I'm going, "Yeah, sure." So we're eating lunch. Robert Pena, John and me. And then Robert says, "Hey, do you remember my sister Gloria?" I said, "Jim Hicks, right?" Married a guy named Jim Hicks. He says, "You got a good memory, Gene." I said, "Yeah, don't ever lie to me." And so they're 82, and they live in San Antonio still, where we grew up. And Jim Hicks needs rotator cuff surgery. Rotator cuff. Okay. Mm-hmm. I had 2 friends do it, and he's 80. He's in his 80s, and bad results like Vicky's knee. So he says, I ain't doing that. And the doctor says, "Well, we can do stem cell injections now. They're allowed in the States, and they're $12,000 a pop." I've been to those meetings where you free steak lunch and you learn about stem cell injections. I've been to 2 of those.
Mm-hmm.
$12,000 a pop, 2 or 3 a year, not paid for by insurance, they're not guaranteed because you may reject the DNA. And he said, "I ain't doing that." So they sent him some patches, and on one day he calls John up on a Zoom call. He says, "John, look, no pain." And I'm going, I've learned in life, John, that when something sounds too good to be true, it's bullshit. It's too good to be true. So he put a patch on me, and he gave me this doctor testimonial video to watch, 3 doctors. And he gave me a website with personal testimonials, like people talking about themselves. But I listened to these 3 doctors talk, and I said, "I'm in." It's the real deal. These are not paid actors. These are medical doctors being very apprehensive, being convinced with the stories, finally trying it on themselves, and then converting all their patients to doing the patch in various forms of medicine, but Western medical doctors. And so I listened to that. I said, I'm in. It's the real deal. And that's happened in January, and I've helped so many people now, and helped myself, and that's how it all started with me just getting a phone call from a blast from the past. And so it's like I remember saying, I'm not doing another damn MLM. You know, I'm 78 years old. 78 years old. I'm not doing another one. You know, I've done Pampered, but like it's willable income. I can't will my Pampered Chef income. There's a free website. I pay $172 a month for my Pampered Chef website. There's no catalogs. I buy catalogs twice a year, and it's like it's really easy to talk about because hell, everybody needs everybody has some kind of problem, you know, at an older age. And all those women in my Pampered Chef business, over 2,000, they're all my age now. And so I'm gradually approaching all those people that are women in my age. And
I don't need it just yet. I'm still very young.
what?
I said I don't need it.
What are you, 38?
I'm 35-ish.
Ish.
So anyway, gosh, the time has passed. I think I covered almost everything.
Yeah, I was going to say, we probably it's time to wrap up. And do you have any other stories, Becky, that you want to say? Do you have an MLM that you participated on?
Back in the day?
Oh,
Like ever?
Yeah.
Yeah, I did. That was what I did for the wine sales. I sold
You
wine.
did a wine shop at home?
I did.
Ooh, that's a cool
I was
business.
very good at it.
Yeah?
Yes. I have a knack for getting people to drink with me. And
It didn't feel like a job.
I did not.
No,
No, I had to learn very quickly that I could not drink at those parties. Because then by the end, when I was actually supposed to be doing business, then I wasn't. But yeah. And it was really funny because when I started it, I was actually in my master's degree to become a counseling psychologist. So I was gonna counsel people, and I had my first daughter born premature, and so I had to kind of stop that at the moment, and so I needed something else to do. And then I got into that, and I was like, oh, this is like group therapy, but like in a whole different way. And I liked it much better. So I never did go and finish that master's. I've got the debt for it, but not the degree. Oops. So whenever, yeah.
I've been to a couple of parties. That's a pretty cool business.
It is a very cool business. I think they've changed it now since I was last there. It's been a long time. They've changed the name of it, and like COVID was very interesting because it is a very much a in-person type of thing. You can't really do it virtually because you have to drink the wine and taste it. So I don't know how they did that. I know I have like friends who are still in it since then, but yeah, it was very fun.
Oh, COVID, because they would need to have the get-togethers, you know, to be able to enjoy, to taste the wine. Yes.
Yeah, so we would have like 6 bottles of wine.
But the COVID, you know, the virus stops whenever you have to do an event like that. They give a pause, and then people can go there.
The virus does stop when you put it against wine or beer.
Yeah. It is like, you know, like immediately. It's amazing.
Yeah.
It happens. Yeah.
I learned a lot about wine. Went to a lot of into California several times, to different wineries, all that kind of good stuff. So I do like a wide range of wine. Like I can appreciate it for what it needs to be, like, you know, fish with white wine and da-da-da. But I do like red is my preferred. If I'm going to choose it, that's where I'm going.
Red what? Which?
Actually,
grape?
A red blend.
Blend?
Be my ultimate, any red blend. But depending on what's there, I can drink it all. I'm an equal opportunity wine drinker. That's what I used to say.
So I have to reflect on that. When we were in Spain, there was an expression we used that said, alcohol in general is so cheap in Spain, you can't afford not to get drunk. You can't afford not to get drunk. So they had these wine bodegas, and you would buy an 8-liter thing of wine that was empty, and you would fill it up, and you go into a bodega, and they'd have like 8 barrels of wine, claret, muscatel, different things. It says, ahora yo quiero un poco dulce, poco seco, y dame un para probar. You know, I want a little bit of both, and they would mix it, and you would taste it. And the 8 liters was, I want you to guess how much. How much in dollars? 8 liters.
Back in 1974? In 1974? Yeah, if the gasoline was $5,
I'll say
gallon-
5.
No, $5 a tank, I think, not a gallon.
No.
No, the
Gas
gallon.
was $5
gas
a
was-
gallon.
Oh, over in Europe.
Back in Europe.
Well,
Okay,
in
okay,
74, it was
Okay.
the crisis of the.
So it was
gasoline.
like $4 for 8 liters of wine.
Yeah. That's what
8
said the
liters
same
of
price of gasoline. That's why I was trying to,
Yeah.
just so say.
$4
that's,
a-
And so when I was in college, we had these drinking games. Okay, my favorite was called Turtle. By the way, are you a turtle? Are you a turtle?
I might be. I don't
Are
know.
you a turtle?
What's a
So-
turtle?
maybe in a
I mean,
different
I
life.
think-
If you're a
I think
turtle,
in the, in the Chinese like New Year thing, I'm a dog.
if you're a turtle, there's a
No.
proper response. And if you're not a turtle, then I can make you a turtle. And I have to share how this goes. Okay, so
I don't know if I want to know this.
Aish.
Are we going down? Are we going down the rabbit hole?
Yeah.
we're not-
We are going down the turtle.
The turtle
Turtle hole.
hole.
I
Yeah.
have to end this with a real funny story. Okay, it's a funny story. So, so Turtle is a follow me game. So most of the time you're drinking beer. So pretend. So there's like say there's 10 people, and I'm the master. I'm the turtle driver. Okay, so it starts like this: one red hen, and everybody takes one sip and says one red hen. Then
Like separately.
Yes.
Okay.
One each of a time.
2 sips, one red hen, 2 cute ducks.
Okay.
And then goes around. Okay. Now the rules are: if you ever screw up on any of the expressions, if you're on number 5, you drink 5 more sips, and then you ask the master, me, what you want repeated, the whole thing or just what you screwed up on. I repeat that, and you try again. If you mess again, you pick 5 more sips until you get it right, and it keeps going. There's 11 of these. Okay.
Mhm.
So number 5 is the first hard one. It's 5 fat females sitting, sipping scotch, smoking cigarettes. That's the first hard one. It's long, okay? So there's 11 of these. So I'm in Spain, and there's like 8 people, and there's 3 Australians.
I already find it funny. It's already funny.
There's 2 women, Ro and Mandy, and a guy named David, okay? So David's here, Ro and Mandy's here, and they insist on drinking rum and Coke, and I'm thinking, no, you don't want to drink rum and Coke. You'll kill yourself. God damn it, we want to drink rum and Coke. Okay, kill yourself. Okay, so now these 2 chicks, they didn't miss a thing until number 8. Number 8 was 9 nimble Nubians numbly nibbling nails. It's kind of a tongue twister, okay?
Mhm.
So Ro and Mandy, Ro says 9 nimble Nubians numbly nibbling nuts instead of nails. Nuts.
Mm.
And so, we're almost finished. So we're pretty drunk already. So it's
Mhm.
funny, nuts, balls, testicles.
Yeah.
So we laugh. So she pays her 8 and she tries it again. 9 nimble Nubians numbly nibbling nuts. Again, she screws up again. We're laughing more. She gets it right on the 3rd one. Now we're in number 10, okay? And we come to Ro, and 9 nimble Nubians numbly nibbling nuts again. So we're really hysterical, and we're laughing, and David stands up. And he says, mates, in Australia, there's a brand of nuts called Nobby's nuts. And the expression is nibble Nobby's nuts. So she's confusing nibbling nails with nibbling nuts. So don't give her such a hard time now. If you've ever known any Australians, they're big bullshitters. And so we're saying, bullshit, David, sit the fuck down, like bullshit. And he's standing up and he says, oh, you don't believe me. And he undoes his belt. And he undoes his button, and he pulls down his zipper, and he pulls down his pants, and he's got this little bikini underwear, and over his ball sack it says, never mind Nobby's nuts, nibble mine, okay? Now,
Oh my God.
No, I'm not finished. A year later, okay, we're in Germany, and there's this big ass party at some place, and it's David's going away party. He's going back to Australia, okay.
Mhm.
So I get him off to the side. I said, "Hey, David, you got that underwear still?" And he says, "What underwear?" I says, "Nibble Nobby's nuts." And he says, "Yeah, I got it." He says, "You got to give it to me." So I have that underwear, and I used to wear it. When I would tell the
his
story,
underwear and now wear it.
I
Or
would
did?
wear it, and I
Yeah.
would tell the story, and I would do what he did,
Uh-huh.
I would do that, okay? I haven't done that in a long time. Now,
Good.
Thank you, Gene, for not doing it.
now, my daughter,
All of the image is fine. Like, yeah.
my daughter, did
He's wearing them right now.
Yeah.
Just so you know.
I saved it to the end. Let me show you.
Let me show you something really funny because he's a visual. He said he was going to show us something visual.
My daughter did a gig in Australia, and I have a package of Nobby's nuts, and it says nibbled Nobby's nuts. So it's a true story. He was telling the truth. So
He was telling the
I
truth.
thought I'd ended with some levity, because it's a funny story.
Yeah.
It was funny. Thank you very much for watching. I'll see you next week. And
Yes.
Gene, thank you very much for coming. And Becky, thank you. I really appreciate you all filling in today. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thanks for having us.
Yes.
Goodbye.
Okay.